The inevitable is no less a shock just because it is inevitable. Even with all man's technology and inventions, it just takes one natural disaster to remind us that we are all at the mercy of Mother Earth. We live in the most active hurricane zone in the world. Our beaches, hills and valleys have all been sketched by Atlantic winds and buckets of rain. With increasing intensity, storms assault our small islands and kill the less prepared. Our fragile economies hemorrhage, leaving us at the mercy of foreign aid. We all have been there, and nature will continue this random onslaught, and there is nothing we can do except to insure against the certainty. But how many of us actually do? Tonight, Alison Kentish brings us a special presentation on Dominica's dance with evil Erika.
It starts off here in the highlands of Ethiopia. A ripple in the atmosphere called an easterly wave. Every hurricane season, many of these ripples travel thousands of miles in the direction of the Atlantic, but only a few ever become hurricanes. Hurricanes only form on warm ocean waters of about 26 degrees Celsius. This is why it is common in the tropics where temperatures are high all year round. Warm air together with moisture from evaporation off the ocean surface rises, creating low pressure on the water surface, which is immediately replaced by cooler air. This process continues, and the resulting moisture-laden clouds begin to expand. Thunderstorms with rains form. These thunderstorms begin to move slowly with mild western winds. The entire system is now in circular motion around a central point. This is called a tropical depression, and they have wind speeds of up to 38 miles per hour. As the system moves over warmer waters, the clouds expand even more. A tropical storm is born when wind speeds reach 74 miles per hour, and the devil itself, the hurricane, comes alive thereafter. The spiral has a calm center called the eye. It is surrounded by a towering and extremely dangerous vertical movement of thunderstorms. This is called the eye wall. The winds of the eye wall are so powerful that they spin and carry huge amounts of ocean water as they move ashore. Destruction is inevitable once a hurricane makes landfall. For the 200+ islands which are bathed by the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, June 1st to October 31st is a period of misses and hits and a constant state of impending danger. The deadliest hurricane in recorded history stormed through between October 10th and 16th, 1780, known as the Hurricane of the Antilles. Winds of over 200 miles per hour hit Barbados before decimating Martinique, St. Lucia and St. Eustatius. Over 25,000 lives were lost. The 1924 Cuba hurricane is the earliest officially classified Category 5 Atlantic hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. When Janet breezed through in 1955, she packed gales in excess of 175 miles per hour and stole 1,024 souls, 122 of whom were in the Grenadines. The date, August 29th, 1979. The name, Hurricane David. The winds, 175 miles per hour. The rainfall, 10 inches. The death toll, 56, 180 injured. The strongest hurricane to hit Dominica in the 20th century. %80 of all houses were damaged. 75% of the population was homeless. Dominica's 365 rivers aided David in his killing spree, as lives, homes, and 75% of the agricultural crops were washed away. Immediately after the storm, lack of power prevented communications, and the outside world had little knowledge of the extent of the damage in Dominica. A citizen named Fred White ended that by using a battery-operated ham radio to cry for help. Next, it was a Creole-speaking sister's turn to be hammered. It made landfall on Helen Shores on August 4, 1980. The savage howling, accompanied by torrential downpour, was the soundtrack of a long night. Finally zephyred, 249 were dead, and the island was $600 million in debt. From a gentle breeze and warm ocean currents to the spinning metamorphosis of a trough, a depression, and the devil's baby brother, the tropical storm. These monsters usually come bearing more rain than wind. When the skies opened over St. Lucia the night of September 10, 1994, Tropical Storm Debbie deposited 9 inches of sky juice. Not an inch of the island was spared. And as if, like a cruel joke, it happened again. Throughout it all, our neighbors have supported, sent personnel, bridges, water, and raised funds for a redevelopment. But living in Hurricane Alley almost guarantees every island a dose of disaster with each weather report.
At this moment, Tropical Storm Erika is wreaking havoc on Dominica, and several people are missing.
Like a thief in the night, Erika came. For many residents, it started off like any other rainy night in the hurricane season. But after 15 inches of rain in 9 hours, they knew there was nothing ordinary about August 26th.
This airport runway with debris, damaging at least one plane, sweeping away cars and swallowing the roads underneath. The middle of this road gone.
You can actually see just what has caused all this destruction. 6-hour rainfall totals 225 millimeters over the past 12 hours, 322 millimeters. And as we zoom into this island nation, again, this is a Commonwealth, you can see just how mountainous the terrain is there. Some of the highest peaks just shy of 1,500 meters. But that allows the rain to pool up in those valleys and gorges and eventually just stream right into the towns and cities below, leaving devastation like that.
I believe the rain start drizzling around 11 o'clock, and then it goes on. When it was around 3 o'clock in the morning, it started pouring a little heavier until it goes on to 4, 5, 6 in the morning. It starts pours heavier again, and then when the daylight comes in, it starts giving up a little ease up. Now, when we look outside, all around the home was landslide. All around my house was landslide. North, south, east. The roads block up. And my mother and I was there living, a mother of 82 years old, partially blind. And she couldn't do nothing for herself. But we was always just there, keep on praying, hoping that things might, slow down and get better. But eventually it didn't. It get a bit worse. Then when the day we decided, well, we cannot leave our mother in that situation, so we had to make a way to take her down to the bay, which was a very difficult task.
That's a first-time experience, and it was very difficult to even understand what was happening, because when the rain started falling, and well, I started praying, and then when I looked, because I live between two rivers, when a little further away, one is just at the back of me, and I'm looking down, and I'm hearing the rain, I'm seeing the rivers, I'm seeing the things going down, and I could actually see where the two rivers are joining together, and then that's where the real thing was, and there was a guy with a house on the side. A few minutes I looked, I didn't see the house. And then I realized then something is very, very wrong.
As the sun rose on August 27th, Dominicans prayed, thanking God for seeing them through the night. But Erika wasn't done, and the morning sunlight would reveal the true brunt of her fury. Some residents would narrowly escape her clutches.
When I wake up in the morning, I saw in my place, I saw the water is like coming in. So what I did now, there was a couple friends next door in a bar, about 5 of them. And then I called them, we moved my fridge, we moved my TV, we moved my cane juice machine, and we put it by the bar. So while we are by the bar now, we saw this thing just come down on us. We hear a noise like, like something like, like when you have, if you have a big container of water and you just throw it down, you know what it does? So we there, man, and we sit on the bar, and we have no way to come out from that bar. So we there and we calling people that away from that, on the hill, and then they can't hear what we're saying. But God bless us, we had one guy with his son on the other side. He heard us and he get rope and he bring the rope, he send the end for us in the bar, and we tie it on a pole, and then he tie it to an old step. And then we had to go on this road, on this rope, holding it, crossing. And one guy get injured in his foot. And man, I saw big trees, cars, everything just going to the sea. Like it's nothing. We stayed there for a good while, looking at this river going down powerful, big trees, like big rocks you hearing, and just wiping things away. And myself, I wondered, but if it's going to stop, because the way it was, my friend, I was very scared.
I put up my hand and I see a monster coming down from where we were standing in the porch. The thing came down slowly, on huge trees and boulders in that. So I said to him, look, The only thing I thought of, believe me, that the day was my last day. I'm going to die. I say, God, I'm going to die. I tell him, let us leave the house and I see. And believe me, the moment the thing came down, I just heard my bag, boom. When I heard boom, when I looked out, my neighbor house gone. And a little shop she had around. I just started screaming. I tell him, let us, and we calling him Star. And then Star, let us go, because the I see things coming that will hit our house. Let us go. Believe me, I left him standing in the porch, and I ran for my life. I reached on top of it by my mother-in-law, and when I just started shouting for help, calling for help, the people came and asked me what I said to them, well, I don't know if the house is still standing, but I know if another one come down like what I saw, it will go away with the house. Anyway, we stayed there. All of us started crying and crying and crying. One time, a nephew of mine, my niece came to tell me, Auntie they have a little name calling me Auntie. Auntie, your house is still standing. When I peeped below, I saw the house was still standing. Then my adopted son came to ask me for his father. I told him, well, I left your father in the house because he didn't want to. They went, he and two others went. And believe me, we had a pass to come out, and slide just dragged below. And it just hit the kitchen. We saw the river. I said, oh Lord, please haven't finished. That river just went high, and you see the coconut trees shaking like that.
Oh my God! Oh Lord! Oh my God!
But how does Windy David compare to super wet Erika? Residents relate stories of the devastation of Mother Nature, making mush of mountains and rivers turning into monsters.
We just see river rises and raging waters, and time for us to come back home there. We have to stay under this downstairs there for a good hour and a half, and at this time, rain start falling more heavily and rivers start overflowing. Well, thank you very much. Serious waters. Well, we had this experience on the 24th of December 2013, but it was not bad as this one there. This one, I don't know well if it had some kind of evil forces with it, which a lot of us say straight off, that is the first time, even grown-ups said, that's the first time they ever saw this river overflow its banks like that. By the time daybreak, 6 o'clock, there's waters in the street, boulders, some serious boulders going down.
I believe Erika is the worst. Because if I can remember, I remember an old man was telling me that he feared rain more than wind. He said he preferred wind than rain, because with rain, it can bring landslide and it can carry you down. More than that can bury you. But with the wind, it can just take out the roof and it can rebuild instantly. You understand? So I have 61 years old, and that is the first time I've ever experienced such a thing in my village.
When he started crying, I started to sing for them, God will make our way. That's the song we started to sing. So immediately they stopped crying, and then I told them to sing with me, oh good Jesus, save us. And then when I watched, I saw a monster rolling, and at the same time I saw the dumper from the distillery just swimming in the river. Big boulders, big trees, stones, and then the broilers starting to fume all through. And then my children, that is when they started to cry. I tell them, don't cry, God will make our way. And then I had my eyes in the heavens praying. And so my daughter tell me, Mommy, look, the river leaving us. So the river started creeping, crawling. It made another way. So God did make the other way for us. And soon after that, my son just rushed and said, Mommy, God made a way for us, so let us leave. So immediately we left, and then we start crawling up. So as we crawl in, so landslides start coming on us. A stone missed my bigger son with one of my grandsons. But with God, everything is possible. We started creeping up, crawling up. Things pricked us, but we didn't care. But God saved us, and then He put us in the main road. We passed through slides, we passed through stones, we passed through trees, and then we were saved.
The horror stories are many. The damage to homes, roads, bridges, and communities monumental. But it is the death toll that is most heartbreaking. When we return, we hear from those who lost loved ones, and one young man turns grave digger overnight.
Every once in a while, a company will appear on the scene with a fresh perspective, a burst of adrenaline, and a passion for excellence. Its humble beginnings are steeped in social transformation. Last to enter the arena, it changes the status quo, and the game will never be the same again. The independent film company appeared on the scene when the commercial sector needed it most. Its metamorphosis blossomed with the production of the most creative television commercials in St. Lucia, and they do it all absolutely free. From marketing concepts, surveys and research, to professionally produced ads for social media and television, and the most engaging documentaries in the English-speaking Caribbean. With heavy investments in technology and a focus on building the technical and service capacity of its nimble team, it prides itself on being the little company that could. The Independent Film Company Incorporated, changing yesterday's game, rewriting today's roles, and charting the way for multimedia production here, now, and beyond.
Erika claimed 31 lives, 18 in the southeastern village of Petite-Savanne. Many of the bodies were never found. She decimated the tight-knit, picturesque community which was the hub of the country's bay oil industry. She amputated hamlets in the community. Even the cemetery was inaccessible, leaving residents with the traumatic task of finding and burying the dead.
I decided to go back up with a guy because he said his brother was covered under some debris and whatnot on this in his hand or his feet. So got back up with him. He went and started digging up the body, and I mean the brother is there and he's searching for the body, rest of the body, and like, you know, looking at it. Before the body didn't have a head, you know, and I mean the brother is looking and he's taking his hand and taking on looking, he's telling me, boy, the don't have head, you know, saying where the person head, where his head, where his brother head, and he's digging, and I mean I watching him, and I mean I helping him. I don't have a choice, you know, I gotta help the guy. He's seen that he's his brother and he's being strong already. We tried, it's like not seeing the person head on. Anyway, I told him dig a little more up on the side because the body was kind of being some stuff. And we dig and we found the head well attached and everything. He was in pieces, just that around from there of his body it had burst and some of his guts was kind of coming out in there. You know, it's a lot of pressure kind of squeeze him and burst him open. But then and in spite of everything, we got him out. The brother took a little courage. We washed out his face, cleaned him out nice. His eyes are already closed, but, you know. And it's not a pretty sight, like you said, and it's a heartbreaking situation. Anyway, from there, we had to carry on.
Bedminster helped to bury 5 residents of Petite-Savanne, people he saw every day growing up in the community, and he did so stoically. There was nothing else to do. At one point, with darkness looming, he and his friends hastily put 2 bodies into a single hole. The emotional toll of this task would not hit home until he stumbled upon the body of his 17-year-old best friend.
Imagine your mother, your father, cousins, uncle, little nephews, and kids even gone in that to you, so you could imagine how you would feel if something like that happened to you, you know? I mean, and looking at them, they started to cry, and I had to just leave myself in. I couldn't really stay there. Anyway, through that, we still had to continue, go and, you know, get some more bodies, start bury them. You know, I mean, when they found that young man, Darwin, you should hear the screams of his mother. You could see a mile away. That was, I don't know, it's So something that somebody, if you gotta be there to look at it, you have to be real strong, you know. And anyway, we still had some more to do again. And in spite of all that heartbreak, we still had to go get some more bodies, bury them, and all that. And it was getting so late. You know, now somebody would say they get their family to bury them and they would make a proper funeral or something. That at least would help the heartbreak a little. But you know, you don't got a choice. You just gotta take a hole and put them in there and just look at them go just so, and you can't help it. I mean, there are those who didn't even get their body to bury, you know. That's starving. That was my good friend, you know, and along with his father, his whole family and everybody else, you know, I mean, looking at that friend go down in a hole and without saying goodbye, without even saying why. At a young age, you know, he didn't even start to live yet, just getting to know life. I mean, come on, you know, at these ages that just started to meet girls, I mean, come on. Just go on the type of death. Sometimes you got, I mean, who knows if he died right away or if he struggled a little. It wasn't an easy sight, you know.
In many small communities, there is the saying that everyone knows everyone. But Pititsavan is unique in that it was one of those family communities where so many people are related. For the residents, this made the death toll so much harder to bear, as word came of the demise of one relative after another.
Everything shut down during the day, about 10 to 11. That time, the entire village was in chaos, screaming and bawling, deaths all over. While we were there, a lot of things were happening in another area, in the Montopi, yes, and in the Tom area. Slides and houses were being washed down. Deaths, people who died. In fact, we had 18 deaths, 13 male and 5 female. 5 bodies were retrieved, and the others we could not get them. You know, either they were buried or washed away.
Moise come tell me, Tame, Kai Rosemary, Alewi. Oh, I burst into tears. I put my 2 hands on my head. I said, the children maybe go Rosemary in the house. When I went, I'm not seeing no house. No, she had a shop and a house. I'm not seeing no shop, no house. I start to cry. So Gregor's mother inside say, me Rosemary, and at that time I still there crying. But when Mr. come down, he went down the road, but no road, you know, slide left, slide right, and on down. Down our house have a slide again. So they went down, they come and tell me, Raphael and his wife and 3 children go. Oh, and I'm Raphael's auntie, my brother, children. Oh, I start to cry. I cry. When they told me, brother Andrew, go. They are not seeing him most again. I start to cry.
Evil Erika. That's the name given to the tropical storm which ravaged an entire community. The place has been declared a disaster zone with no hope for return. For displaced people, the only thing to do is to cling to their loved ones. That is, those who still have their immediate family with them. Fabian Fontaine is not so lucky. In one fell swoop, Erika robbed him of 9 members of his immediate family, including his parents.
It was like a nightmare. It was like a dream that I couldn't be awake from, because I just saw my brother just died. And then I couldn't explain it to anyone, because it was like, that's the first time these things happened to me in my life. To see the amount of slides and the amount of rain, the strength of the river, the current of it, and I couldn't understand myself. But when this incident happened, actually I hurried home to tell my mom about what happened. But eventually, they were not there. But the homes was crushed, including the homes of my brothers and my aunt and my father and I. I lost my mom and my dad and my last brother. I lost my aunt and her husband and their 3 children. And one uncle of ours that visited us, he died as well. And I lost one of my first cousins, 2 of my first cousins, and then my uncle, my other uncle and his wife as well, perished. And some of my good friends as well.
When we met Fontaine, he was still recovering from the physical injuries sustained during his battle with Erika.
I myself was stuck in the dirt. Yeah, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't see anything, except I just said this is my last day, so I had just to pray and then die. But I do not know if he's an angel. I don't know. It was something I have never experienced in my life. And then I keep on rolling down in the river and on mud pit, and then my hand, I hold a root, and I cleave to it, and I climb it up, and then 2 of my friends and my first cousin, they were there to attend me, and they bring me to a safer place. But I got a lot of bruises in my body, including all this and all this. Then the next day, I couldn't walk because I got a fever. Actually, I got a fever for 4 days. So I was somewhere in a room by someone else, and they gave me some painkillers and they rubbed me up. And I was crying a lot. That was the only thing I could do, just cry whole day. I couldn't eat and drink nothing. Yeah, I see my father every day. I see him every day. He was the first one I cry on when I did not see him. I see him every day. I see my mother every day. My free up time is by my last brother. Actually, on Sundays, we cook out. All the brothers came together with our friends and we cook out. Yeah, it was fun for me. I wasn't really, they drink, but I myself don't drink.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things you will miss.
I will always miss it. I will always miss this. I hope all people who has been in my situation, they pray. Because it's only God, one side of prayer, and only God that give man whatever they can carry. Because he himself, Allah said that he cannot give man things or duties or anything that they cannot handle or carry. Because he's all wise, he's all seen and all knowing. Often forgiving and most merciful. So that's how I manage myself, by the will of Allah.
Next, rescue missions help save hundreds of lives. And we meet the man who built Noah's Ark.
Where most people see a window, we see a vision. We see the hours of development and testing, from the precision of craftsmen, quality of components, CNC processing to form immaculate all-glass products, the dedication of people who stand behind a product built to last a lifetime. And who knows, maybe after today, every time you look through one, you'll remember everything that went into it. St. Lou means windows, doors and all-glass products and customization of modular products to suit your needs. Precision, quality, safety. They're your windows and your world. Call us today at 454-6538.
On the calmest of days, the waters of Petit Savan are notoriously choppy. During and post-Erika, they were simply menacing. Rescue vessels were unable to make it to the hundreds of people in need of urgent evacuation who were gathered on the shore. They included the very young, the sick, and the elderly. A fisherman from the village would become the hero of the day. Monel Thomas built his boat from scratch, ordering material from St. Martin. It took him an inordinate amount of time. He toiled day and night on the project. The task earned him the name Noah among residents. They were not far off. When the order came for the mass evacuation of Petit Savan, no official vessel could make it to shore. The builder of Noah's Ark, himself a master mariner, would be the one to transport hundreds of residents from the shore to the safety of regional Navy vessels. Residents of another area remain cut off from the island. Supplies are being brought to the villages of Dominica and Dalis on a rope and pulley system over a gorge. The government is scrambling to restore road access.
And over the last 6 weeks, we have sought to create some sort of access for the people. Of course, as PAL rep for the area, my overriding concern over the past 6 weeks and going forward is to ensure that the people can return to a state of normalcy as far as their livelihood is concerned, and that is hinged on providing them access.
A long road ahead for Dominica. Coming up, lessons for the region, and just how does a country rebuild after being set back 2 decades.
Life is a series of triumphs and trials. The circle of life has all the usual certainties and, of course, the unpredictable. Just one can affect you and your loved ones. Sadly, many fail to prepare for the unforeseen. Thankfully, we've been here for over 138 years, helping you plan and recover. We offer peace of mind at that critical moment. GTM Insurance, sound, solid, and reliable. Call us today at 458-6300 or log on to gtminsurance.net.
The government of Dominica is hoping to move the displaced people of Petit Savan to guest houses in the interim. Life is not easy for shelter residents. An independent people who built their lives and homes in a beautiful village say Erika has left them at the mercy and goodwill of others. They battle with the emotional scars every day.
Right now, the hardest part of it is just living with everything that's happened. I mean, dead, when you're dead, you don't know nothing. You're gone. I mean, you're in a happy place, right? But when you're here to really live with what's happening, right now, the heartbreak, and sometimes some people still crying, some people still hurting about everything. And I mean, so you'd pull up and you see some people just sit down by themselves, just their mind far. I mean, you're wondering what's wrong, but then you can't ask it because you already know, right? And then you can't say, well, sometimes you try and tell them that's the way it is, but what difference would that make? Just gotta try to live with it and just agree that's life and that's what it brings. As my friend would say, a lot of sleepless nights, you know? I mean, as you close your eyes, you see some dead guy, you know, not that you're scared, but, you know, the heartbreak just keeps coming back at you, and seeing everybody, the rest of the family is inside there, and it's not something to just let go that easy, you know? It's real rough. Yeah.
Relocation is the best because it is not fit. We got slides all over and the place is devastated. The roads and the river, it's like a canyon, the river right now. It will take the government a lot of money to rebuild Petit Savan again. Because the landscape itself is not that good. Because there's a lot of mountains and hills, and with these slides, all those slides, I don't know how they can be able to fix that.
This one is joke for that. I hear them about me look at
a It is with a heavy heart that I address you tonight. You can well imagine the hell it has been for me since I heard of the passing of Tropical Storm Erika and the damage it has done to my dear people and our beloved country, the Commonwealth of Dominica.
In a press briefing 1 month after Erika, Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit disclosed that the rebuilding bill is near $1.3 billion. He also stated that the country faces a housing resettlement program of monumental proportions. Dominica has received $13.2 million in cash donations so far, a drop in the bucket for a country needing $1.3 billion. In 2004, Grenada lost a crippling 200% of GDP when Ivan hit, flattening the island structures. In 2010, Hurricane Tomas struck St. Lucia and dumped 10 inches of rain in 6 hours, resulting in losses of 43% of GDP. The 2013 Christmas Eve trough pounded St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, decimating infrastructure and claiming lives. These stories underscore the need for small island states to take the lessons of climate change seriously and to lobby more aggressively for funds to shore up the defenses of Caribbean countries to the effects of climate change. With ever more intense storms visiting more frequently, building smarter is sound engineering advice. We live in the most active hurricane alley in the world. The next Erika, Tomas, David, Ivan, Hugo, and Dean will rotate off the coast of Africa, and there is nothing we can do to prevent it. However, we can be proactive. Insurance is protection against a possible eventuality. Why gamble with your life, your home, and all its contents? We cannot avoid, but we can plan, we can insure, and we can be prepared.
What about those who can? Here we'll have to stay. Opportunity, a scarce commodity. In this time I say, when mama spend her last and send you go class, never you ever play. It's a competitive world full of project people, spending their time while earning a nickel, with no regard for who it may tickle. My cup is full to the brim. I could go on and on, the fool has never been told. Could go on and on, the fool has never been told. Could go on and on, the fool has never been told. Could go on and on, the fool has never been told. Could go on and on, the fool has never been told. Could go on and on, the fool has never been told. Could go on and on, the fool has never been told. Could go on and on, the fool has never been.